Well, keeping drone use a secret, it appears that's what's happening in a California county. This after a Freedom of Information Act request from an organization called Muckrock and the Electronic Frontier Foundation. The request is part of their ongoing effort to conduct a drone census across the country to find out who has them and who wants them. But when the San Diego sheriff was asked to fork over drone documents, he said there weren't any. At first, there was no cause for alarm, but after looking into the responses from other cities, it became apparent that San Diego did, in fact, have documents pertaining to drones. So why the big secret? For more on this, RT correspondent Ramon Galindo joins us now. Hi there, Ramon. So can you tell us how it came to light that San Diego has documents relating to drones?
That's right, Liz. As you mentioned earlier, the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Muckrock have been conducting this drone census where they're using the Freedom of Information Act to get this information regarding drones from several different law enforcement agencies. Now, when they asked San Diego Sheriff's Department didn't give them any information, but when they were pouring over the documents that were handed over from the Seattle PD, they noticed that some of the salespeople who were trying to sell unmanned aerial vehicles to the Seattle Police Department had also been trying to sell these same drones to San Diego Sheriff. They were able to find this sales quote, which really details how much the system would cost the city, along with cost for training. So even though the San Diego Sheriff at the time of the request had said that they had nothing to do with drone systems, the documents which were handed over by the Seattle Police Department definitely showed that there had been some sort of interaction between drone manufacturers and the San Diego Sheriff's Department.
So what do you think, Ramon? Does it look like there was an intentional cover-up?
Well, I just got off with the San Diego Sheriff's Department just a few minutes ago, and what they tell me is that there is no intention to cover anything up and that they have been as transparent as they can be with the public and the press. However, many investigative journalists will tell you quite the opposite. I've been on the phone all day today with fellow journalists in San Diego who said that they've also been stonewalled before when they file FOIA requests with the San Diego Sheriff's Department. However, as I mentioned, I did speak with a department spokesperson just a few minutes ago who did mention that they have looked into drone surveillance in the past, however, that it does not fit their purposes at this moment, and therefore they say that they're not going to buy any in the near future.
Did they comment specifically on the contradiction that was there, that they said that there was never any intent, there were no documents, when in fact it did come out that there were documents? Did they respond to that?
Right. Well, I asked them about this. They, again, refused to comment on the investigation that Muckrock had brought out, reiterating the fact that they were very transparent and that they may at some point look into drone usage in the future. They say that they are not actively searching for drone manufacturers to service them with drones. They said that they were approached by this drone manufacturer, and according to the Sheriff's Department, there's nothing nefarious. However, when the Sheriff's Department comes back with responses that there's no right for the public to know about this, and they come out and deny it, and then later facts come out say that they were dealing with drone manufacturers, there's still a lot of suspicion within the public and in the press about what their true intentions are.
Now, why would the San Diego Sheriff's Department want to keep this a secret from the public?
That's right, this is not unprecedented. I mean, we'll remember that up in the Seattle Police Department, contracts were being made with drone manufacturers without the public knowledge, a lot of backlash. So there's always that possibility. Now, the San Diego Sheriff's Department also has not applied for any sort of approval from the from the FAA to conduct any sort of testing when it comes to drones over San Diego County. So there's also that the county is not prepared with regulations to hold that. So if there was any sort of negotiations happening with drone manufacturers, it would likely stir up a lot of controversy about whether the agency will be flying those drones over the city of San Diego.
All right. Now, this all came to light after this Freedom of Information Act request was requested or filed by these organizations. Ramon, is California, the public there, entitled to know this information?
Well, many in the public and many journalists believe that yes, because when you talk about drones, I mean, when we talk about drones, they're known as these unmanned aerial aircraft, which just cause havoc in places like Pakistan and Afghanistan. So whenever you hear that there's going to be drones and up to 30,000 drones flying in the skies over the U.S., I mean, that really puts a lot of concern into people's minds. These drones that will be used here in the United States will most likely not be weaponized. However, there's always these surveillance, privacy, and data security issues. The more that we get into this drone technology, the more advanced they become. They have infrared sensors. And one of the uses that the San Diego Sheriff's Department said that they are looking at possibly using drones in the future is when it comes to eradicating marijuana fields, or at least spotting marijuana fields out in the hill country. So definitely a lot of security and privacy concerns anytime that you bring up drones and anytime you bring up domestic surveillance here in the U.S.
All right. I know, Ramon, that you spent some time on the border there, and it's there on the border where drones are used. Can you talk about how drones are used on the border and by local police departments? We are looking at video of you reporting on the border.
That's right. We were reporting on the border. Now, the Department of Homeland Security has acquired several drones to monitor not just the southern border along U.S. and Mexico, but also the northern border. Now, these unmanned aerial vehicles, the purpose of them is to help catch drug smugglers or undocumented immigrants which are crossing the border. Now, this program costs hundreds of millions of dollars. And even the Homeland Security Department itself, their auditors have said that this program has not really given them much results when you take a look at how much it costs and how many drug seizures have actually happened. Now, besides trying to catch drug smugglers and immigrants crossing the border, we'll remember that in North Dakota, a local law enforcement agency there called the Homeland Security Department to help them arrest a family which was suspected of stealing livestock, and they were able to surround that family and arrest them without firing any shots. So these are the things that that the drones are currently being used for here domestically.
Interesting. Yeah, we are seeing that they're finding a lot of different uses for drones these days. So we know about this. We know that at least on some level there was, I guess the Sheriff's Department wasn't completely truthful, or they didn't disclose all the documents when they did in fact have them. This is what was revealed through this investigation. But so we know that this is happening. It was kind of happening in secret in San Diego. Is it possible, Ramon, that it's happening in other areas of the United States? And is it possible that other cities are getting a hold of drones or planning on it without the public knowing and therefore not being able to respond?
Well, in many of these cases, the public doesn't know what is going on behind the scenes, and that's concerning to a lot of journalists and just a lot of the people in the public which really want to know how their government is spending their money and whether their government is actually spying on them. As I mentioned earlier in Seattle, when the police department there was secretly acquiring these drone systems, I mean, there was a lot of anger in that community, and we haven't just seen protests there. We saw protests in Oakland when the ACLU found out that the Sheriff's Department there was looking into drone usage there. And that's why we see the really strong importance of this drone census, which is being conducted by the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Muckrock, where they've gone and asked hundreds of law enforcement agencies whether they're using or planning to acquire this drone technology. And that's really giving a lot of knowledge and power to the citizenry, and then they'll react accordingly you know, that's what the privacy advocates are hoping for anyway.
All right, Ramon, thanks for staying on top of this. That was RT correspondent Ramon Galindo.
You bet.